It's the Olympics. It's the Pacers. Tyrese Haliburton is through to the knockout stage. Andrew Nembhard is through to the knockout stage. And yet, everyone, still a lot of chatter about how they're playing and the roles they're playing. We're going to break it all down with Alex Riley from Paceroos on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Friday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today we get a gap in game, so it's time to talk Olympics. We're about done with the group stages. Tyrese Haliburton is through. They're going to be playing in the knockout rounds. Andrew Nembhard is through. They're going to be playing in the knockout rounds. And it has been quite the tournament so far. A lot of awesome games. I just love FIBA play. And we got to break down what the Pacers guys are doing. I kind of was right about Andrew Nembhard's role, although Jamal Murray has been spoiling a little bit. I was totally wrong about what Tyrese Haliburton's role is going to be, although I do get it. We're going to talk about how they're playing, their roles on the team, what they can take from it to the Pacers, and talk a little bit of Myles Turner at the end of this. And who better to do that than the Australian Pacers correspondent, someone who's rooting for the Boomers in this Olympic tournament. I love watching that team. Josh Giddey is hooping right now. You've probably heard him on the Paceroos podcast. You've probably seen his many videos and graphics on social media, of which all of them are spectacular and come out in a shockingly fast amount of time. It's Alex Riley. Alex, how are you? Did I do a good job of telling everybody who you are if they don't already know?
You did a fantastic job. You always do. And I just want everyone to know as well that I basically had to bully Tony into doing the intro for me, so I feel honored to be on the show, and no Australian accents today from you, Tony. Though that's all I need. No Australian accents. You retired it on our show a couple years ago.
I had fun talking with Justin when he was here because I had the realization talking to him, like, to you I have an accent, and to me that's just so like impossible to imagine, right? Like everybody here talks like me, but it's just not how it is. It's so funny to me.
I think that's the thing that everyone kind of gets. Like, that's the thing they have to get over as well. Like, I don't know if you've been overseas much, but Americans go overseas and people are like, whoa, you have a really strong accent. It's like, yeah, you guys do. But, you know, if I go to Indiana, I sound like I'm insane and nobody knows what I'm talking about. And that was the case. My first day, actually, this is a pretty embarrassing story. But my first day in Indiana earlier this year, I go to order chips. And the guy looked at me like I was insane, so had to make sure I said fries. Sorry about that, mate.
Fries. You've practiced saying it like an American too. Well, you and Furf can talk about all the struggles of the American Australian accent crossover. I love that he calls himself Furf. I got to work that in. Johnny Furf. Is he the first Aussie Pacer ever? Right?
He is. Yep.
It's exciting for the nation. He looks pretty good after Summer League. And yeah, we probably aren't talking about him at all because, well, he was on the preliminary Australia roster. He's not in the Olympics. Tyrese Haliburton is. We'll start with him and Team USA. They're 2-0. They've smoked everyone. Kevin Durant returned. And hey, guess what? He's pretty good. Team USA can't really be beat. And yet we'll lead with the big topic, as everyone in Pacerland is talking about. Tyrese Haliburton's not really playing. He played the first half against South Sudan in the tune-up games. And those minutes went terrible. USA got smoked. Derek White started the second half, and Haliburton did not play the rest of that game. He didn't play against Germany in their final exhibition, and then didn't play at all against Serbia in their first actual group stage game. But then they just played South Sudan in the actual Olympics, and Haliburton did play. And he played very well. He had 6 points like that. He had a nice assist to Bam Adebayo. Didn't make that many defensive mistakes, even though they were targeting him. And when him and Steph were in there, oh, man, South Sudan just went at them over and over. But I don't want to get too into the weeds about that right now. What I do want to ask you straight up is, do you think he should be playing? And if you do, who are you taking out to make it happen? Because that's kind of the hard part of this discussion.
Yeah, we're on a Pacers show, so I have to say yes. And selfishly, I would love to see him play, but you know, we're having all these conversations about minutes. Tatum didn't play the first game and B didn't play. But they're winning by 20 plus, basically, every game. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day right now. Maybe it will when they come up against a team like Canada in the medaling rounds. But, yeah, of course, as a Pacers fan, you want to see Tyrese out there. But I will say selfishly as well, he can't get hurt if he's on the bench. So, you know, every time he's played since January, he's had some sort of hamstring soreness or back soreness. So if he just gets to sit on the bench and learn from LeBron, KD, learn from these guys, I don't think it's the end of the world for him.
I did wonder, when Derek White was laboring around in that game they just played, feeling his back, like that's the fear for any team, and he was fine. But like Vlatko Čančar last summer in the World Cup tore his ACL. Like everybody in Paceland knows about Paul George. Like that is a legitimate fear. So you are right. This team is loaded. They're smoking everybody regardless of who they play. I think Kevin Durant returning is a big part of that. That just really makes them so unfair. Here's the thing about Tyrese Haliburton not playing is that all the guys playing the positions he would play have been really good, really good, right? Steph stunk in their last game, but has majorly been awesome. Drew Holiday's probably been the best guard on the whole team through these games. Derek White can't miss and is defending his tail off. And Devin Booker, I can't believe I'm saying this, is playing good defense. Devin Booker is defending kind of well and passing it pretty well. Like you can't just rip one of them out. So against South Sudan, Haliburton played like with Steph and another guard, or with and another guard. Like that is how he can get out there. And so the argument for him playing, this is right. People are saying the right thing. He is the best setup man, best passer on the team. Best setup man's probably LeBron, whatever, you can split hairs, but the best passer on the team, right? That's true. So if they need a jolt of that, like every time he's out there, he finds Bam for something, right? If they need that jolt, it does make sense to get him out there. But here's the thing. With this team specifically, him setting someone up versus them setting themselves up is not that big of like a change in the quality of the final shot, right? With the Pacers, that gap is enormous, right? Like huge for almost every player on the team. With this team, it's not that big. And when that gap is small, the difference in his defense or his off-ball abilities, like Derek White is a brilliant off-ball player. Drew is, even Book is amazing at getting open off the ball. Like that is where the separation is. So yeah, I think there's an argument that he should play because he's the best passer, but I totally understand what they've done. And like, it makes sense looking at the team, why he's not playing, even though that's not as fun to talk about or cover from our seat.
Right. All these guys are connectors, whether it's on the defensive end or offensive end. And, Tyrese is an engine. So it makes sense for Steve Kerr to be like, hey, I'm going to bring in a guy who's going to be the fifth man who plays the fifth man on his actual NBA team. And he's not going to, worry about dribbling the ball for 20 seconds, or he's not going to get beat off the dribble easily. He's going to be able to connect everyone on defense. So, look, Derek White is an absurd defender. We saw that in the conference finals.
Right.
I think it makes sense, even though it sucks as a Pacers fan, of course.
And the thing that stood out about this to me a little bit is like the stars are going to look good at times, but the guys who have been good every game have been those role players, right? Because their job is so easy. Like White, Holiday, and Bam's a star, but like he does role player stuff. They've been amazing every game, like every single game, because they're already good at playing off of other people and playing off of other studs. So they just work so well. And two of them are playing the same position as Haliburton for this team. So I get it. Like I get it's not fun for anyone, but I get it. I'm not going to totally kill Steve Kerr for it. I do think there are times when that they get really uncreative. Like there are some guys on this team who have been too like yucky ISO-y. Anthony Edwards has been awesome at times and dreadful at other times, for example. And those are the moments where you think, oh, if Haliburton was out there, this would not be happening. But that's so easy to say when right now, especially too, they're just absolutely steamrolling everybody. Like Serbia is one of the top 3-4 teams in the tournament, and like they destroyed them. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, and then you saw Serbia get a win about 2 days later. So,
right.
But like you said, I saw you tweet this the other day. If you only saw USA play against Serbia, you would think the rest of the world is screwed. They're going to lose every game by 30 points. Probably not the best reflection.
Serbia, if you had made me pick like my medal predictions, I would have probably picked them for bronze before the tournament started, and USA just completely stomped them twice, even though they haven't played well against some other teams. All right, let me do some fun, zany ones, because Haliburton's not playing a ton, and when he has, he's done exactly the stuff you'd expect. Hit 2 threes and set someone up. Like that's what Tyrese Haliburton's going to do in his minutes. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. The first one we'll do first is, if he can take any skill from any player on this team back to the Pacers, what would you hope it is?
Oh, geez. Would have to be Drew's defense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, would he not be an MVP? He'll be an MVP candidate, right? Like if you gave him an all-world perimeter defender. If I could give him that and I could give him Anthony Edwards' unbridled confidence, like at all times, I would give him both those things.
Ooh. And intangible. I wasn't thinking about intangibles. That's good. Yeah, I was gonna say Derek White or Drew Holiday's defense is like the layup easy answer. So those are the ones. He'd be an incredible player.
LeBron's size. How about that? We'll give him LeBron's muscle.
LeBron's size. Can we just go all the way to Embiid at that point and just have him be huge? The other thing would be to be Devin Booker's off-ball get open ability. Devin Booker is so good at getting open when he doesn't have the ball, and I don't think Tyrese Haliburton needs to become a great off-ball player because he can have the ball all the time. But Siakam is now a thing for a long time. And if other guys like Nembhard or Mathurin are going to ascend, just a little bit of Tyrese Haliburton, like, oh man, he just destroyed coming off that screen, would be just a really big change for the Pacers. Question 2, the more obvious one. If you could take any one player from this Olympic team and just magically insert them on the Pacers, who would it be?
Oh, geez. Is that long-term or short-term? I feel like my answer might change.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Open to interpretation.
I think if it was like purely for the next season, I might take KD. Although I don't know if it's long-term, I'll take Ant because the Pacers necessarily don't have a long-term shooting guard. Maybe, but I don't know. What's your answer though?
Okay, short-term KD is a great answer. My answer, someone else, I was asked this on the radio today, so this is on my brain. I didn't answer either of the guys you said. You know who I said? I said Bam. I think Bam, and the problem is they have Turner and Pascal, right? But Bam can play 4. He can play with another big. He is the perfect defensive fit and offensive fit with Tyrese Haliburton, and he's incredible. He's still young. He's getting better. Bam would solve so many of the Pacers' problems. But they'd run into a sticky situation with Myles Turner, who we will actually be talking about later. He's just such a great fit. Like, Ant's a worse fit, but a better player. KD for 1 year is probably the answer because he fits everywhere immediately. But over X amount, like, he can't, I don't know. I guess maybe he could do this forever, but he's 36, right? Maybe it's going to trail off eventually. But I think those are probably the best answers given either interpretation of the question. But I think Bam and Tyrese have been so good together. And so maybe I'm just naturally inclined to pick that because of that.
But would Tyrese have chemistry with any All-Star who can play? I don't know. That's maybe the question. I know Bam has been incredible in these FIBA games, and I wonder if Pat Riley or Heat fans got to be watching that, feeling a little sick because this is not a Heat podcast, obviously, but they haven't done a whole lot this off season. So yeah, I would be a little sad if I was a Heat fan watching that.
Well, they did pick IU legend Khalil Ware, so they are ready.
He's a beast. He is a beast, yeah.
He is a beast. He had a great summer league. Hey, guys, I need to tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. Plus, with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you'll get your money back because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available to U.S. customers. Let's go to Canada. I predict less of my listeners have been watching Canada because, one, it's not incredibly easy to do here. Shout out to VPNs. And two, most people here are listening are in the United States. I can check the demographics. But Canada, very fun team. Their guards are awesome, stacked, like not as good as USA, but pretty close in the guards, not everywhere else. And Nembhard's a part of that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did his pre-Olympics interview, and they were like, "Hey Shai, who's the best passing player you know?" He's like, "Andrew Nembhard." I did a double take hearing that one, but it's fascinating to hear him say that. So Nembhard, if you haven't been watching, similar to his role he had in that scrimmage against USA that many of you were able to watch, he is a reserve guard behind Shai and RJ Barrett, who start in the backcourt. RJ Barrett's been amazing. And then the backup backcourt, Jamal Murray did not play in that game that most people saw against USA. He's back now. So Drew is kind of like with the Pacers, honestly, a little hybrid on-ball, off-ball. But I honestly think they have it backwards with what they're doing with that second group. And it's for what Jay said. Andrew can really pass and Jamal Murray can really score, and they have Murray taking it up, and it kind of feels like it's not maximizing either of them. And Canada is also winning by double digits against really good teams, so they probably don't care too much, but they've been they were down at halftime, as you know, against the Boomers. Like that wasn't a dominant game, and Shea was in foul trouble in the first half. They haven't been as dominant as USA. I wonder if there's a slight tweak that can make Nembhard more effective. Although his defense has been awesome, his offense has had some hiccups. I think he's been pretty good, though. What's been your assessment of his play so far?
Yeah, shooting's really been the main struggle for him so far. Just hasn't really got it to fall. Yes. But he's had some good playmaking moments. He had a really good game. Not that it really matters because it was a warm-up, but had a really good game against France where you saw both of that. And, as you said, watching
really
the other day against Australia, they were using him as a spot-up guy and a shooter where it's like, why? Like, shouldn't he be playmaking? Should he not be, running the offense here? Like, it's a little bit strange, but as you said, they're winning, so they're already through to the quarterfinals. I don't think they'll change a whole lot, at least not yet. And it's also tough because SGA is playing really well. RJ cooked Australia the other day, and Jamal Murray is an all-star. Basically, he's a borderline all-star. So those guys are all going to take up shots. They're all going to take up space. And, right now, Drew is playing the more connector role where that's not really – he does that, like you said, but it's not where you can maximize everything you can do because, hey, like you saw in that France game, him and Kelly Olynyk off the bench, they had like 5 or 6 assists together. So he can really flourish in that role. I had someone in my mentions as well saying, hey, maybe the Pacers should go get Kelly Olynyk. No, please no.
Kelly Olynyk broke my heart in the Celtics-Wizards series forever ago, and I will never forgive him for it. So I think you're spot on about a lot of that. And that France game was just – he was awesome. Like the shot that he I don't even know if I'd call it trademark. Like guys do take this, but on the Pacers it stands out because no one really takes it. That like fading 10-footer he takes when he gets into the paint over his right shoulder. He just drilled a bunch of those. And France has a bunch of bigs, but their guards stink, and he just got right to his spots. And so and I get why they're running through Jamal Murray. Like he's awesome, but he's just looking to score a lot. Like his setup stuff is not as good as Andrew Nembhard's. And so I just wonder how they can change that bench group up, especially because that group requires some setting up. Olynyk's been pretty good. He's just like shifty and crafty and annoying, but like Alexander Walker and Trey Lyles, like those guys need like a good setup set to really get going and get free. And not that Nembhard's like way better at that than Murray, but he is. So I would wonder if they could shift those roles a little bit. But for Nembhard's minutes going forward, the problem is twofold. One, like you said, he's not making shots. What was he against Australia? 1 for 7, 1 for 6. Like it did not go well in terms of finishing plays. And in the opening game, he had 4 turnovers, 2 right in the first half and then a couple late. So some of the stuff they've needed him to do and that we are saying they should be trying to have him do more of, he hasn't produced. So I understand them not shifting that. And then the other factor you mentioned is they aren't playing their bench guards very much because SGA and RJ Barrett have been like the best players in the tournament. Who is this RJ Barrett? Why did the Knicks trade this guy away? They should have done that trade anyway, but like he looks incredible. So the dynamics of this team are just really interesting in that they have a lot of players. They fit really well. They're playing really well. They're probably going to be playing for a medal, but they still have some like shift this stuff around a little bit and they'd be a lot better.
Yeah, well, I'm curious what your take is, but do you think that'll change? Because obviously you can't take a ton away from an exhibition game that Jamal didn't play, but with that loss to USA, if they match up in the gold medal game, do you think that they change that at all, or do you think that they just keep it all the same?
Maybe because you've seen it. We've just talked about it. Like you need all the defense you can get against Team USA. And if that second unit has Murray in it, like they're just going to pick on him like a scab over and over and over with whoever their guard is, Booker, Ant, whoever. And the thing about that second group that's been so good is even when Ant is like too focused on the rim or it's not clicking offensively, when Bam is in there, their defense is amazing. And especially when it's Bam and AD or Bam and Giroux, they just torch everything. So if Canada can't score, they're screwed because Murray's going to be a weak link. Like the rest of that bench group and really their whole team has been really good defensively this whole tournament. Alexander Walker is like, I've always liked him, but he looks fantastic so far in this event. So if Murray can't be up to snuff there, like, and they were hanging with USA for a little bit, but that would be obviously he's a great offensive player, but he'll be guarded by someone terrific. So I do wonder how they may need to shift that around by then, but that could be 2 games from now. There's not a lot of time to think about these tweaks.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty as well. Like we were talking beforehand, international basketball there's such a short window for it, and these teams don't have a lot of time to gel. You get 4 or 5 practice games where maybe all your guys are available, and then the tournament is, hey, you're playing every other day. So if you are making adjustments, you're making them on the fly, and you're probably not going to have a ton of time to think about it.
That's what makes the whole USA who's not getting minutes discussion so fascinating. Is like they had 5 exhibitions to figure out these lineups, right? Like that's it. And all these other teams have, at least maybe not Canada so much, but all these other teams have played together a lot more than that. I have a feeling there's a good chance we'll get another Nembhard versus Haliburton game. Those 2 teams look phenomenal, and if they both win their next game, they'll be in the top pod of seed teams for the quarterfinal round. So potentially opposite sides of the bracket. We'll see. Same 2 questions as last time. Number 1, Nembhard can take 1 skill from someone on Team Canada. I'm going first this time, and I'll take the layup. Shea's ability to draw fouls. It's ridiculous.
That's what I was going to say.
Even in FIBA play where it's really hard to get to the line, he's like, yeah, even in FIBA play where it's harder to do it, and he's been just shifty, and he can get the line whenever he wants. Easy peasy. He's a beast. That's the layup one. I'm taking it. You got to pick something else.
Ooh, jeez. I was going to say something stupid like Jamal Murray's playoff rising, but Nembhard might already have that. So
Nembhard has it.
Oh, geez, you've left me in the dust here. Can I take the same one as you? Or I'll take SGA's mid-range shooting, even though Nembhard's already good at that. But
some honorable mentions would be RJ Barrett's athleticism. I guess he's been rocking the rim like crazy. Yeah. Who's been shooting really well for them? Oh, can we go with he's kind of that already. I was gonna say Dort. Is there any Dort or Dylan Brooks thing, but not really. No one's like a knockdown shooter on that team. I don't know. It's tough.
He also gets in fights like Dylan Brooks, so maybe he's just already all these Canadians put together.
Can he just be Shea? How about that? Maybe he could just be Shea. And it's probably this one's easier because of Shea. So I'll pick a different one than you. But hey, maybe you won't pick Shea. If he can take someone back with him to be on the Pacers, it's Shea, right? It's pretty.
He would take Kelly Olynyk. That's who he would take.
Okay, honorable mention Nickeil Alexander-Walker, because like Bam, he would solve a lot of the Pacers, for lack of a better term, problems. He's been awesome. He can play on the wing. He can shoot. He can guard. That would be great. And if Lou Dort can actually shoot like he did for the Thunder last year, would be an awesome fit with the Pacers. Do you have any other Olympic thoughts before we transition to one other thing that I did not prep you for?
I wish Mathurin was playing. Maybe that's probably the only thing, because
that'd be nice.
A lot of these Olympic guys seem to come back to the NBA and they're different players, or they've gained a couple of things that they couldn't get if they were playing in the NBA. So, yeah, as a Pacers fan, obviously you want him to get to 100% for next season, but would have been cool to see Andrew and Mathurin playing together for Canada.
Furphy would have been fun, as you know, but not. Yep. He's not ready for that team yet. I mean, they're good. Like, they're legitimately good. Siakam, Cameroon made the qualifying tournaments this year, but he had free agency going on. And I'm selfishly bummed that he couldn't play. And then he signed a 4-year deal, which means he'll be a free agent again when the next Olympics come. So probably not another chance to ever see him play in that setting. I don't know if the last time Cameroon made the Olympics. Who knows what other guys could be in that mix by then. Shibwe, Furphy, who knows? Hey, everybody, let's quickly talk about FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. That's why the Olympics are scratching an itch for me right now. But as the playoffs wind down, the NBA and NHL have been done for about a month. It's August. It's just baseball right now. The WNBA is off for the Olympics. We get fewer games, and the sports are not sportsing like we all want them to. Thankfully, FanDuel's here to help. They let you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that you are in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus every single day. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer with a daily bonus and boost on FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Alex, Jared Allen signed a contract extension this week. You already know where I'm going with this. Jared Allen signed his maximum possible extension with the Cavs earlier this week. 3 years, a little over $90 million. That's over $30 million per year. Kristaps Porzingis extension with the Celtics last year was 2 years, $60 million. Brook Lopez's contract with the Bucks was 2 years, $48 million. Nick Claxton got 4 years, 96. It's really 4 years, 100 if he hits his incentives. Isaiah Hartenstein got 3 years, $87 million. What I'm saying is, if you are a playoff-proven contributing center, the market is set. It's going to take at least $25 million, and that was 2 seasons ago for Brook Lopez, and there's been 2 seasons of cap growth since then, and maybe close to 30 with 10% cap growth coming next year. Remember, when Myles Turner signed his renegotiating extension, Kevin Pritchard said that. He said there's this artificial barrier of 2025 that some agents are looking at because of the potential cap spike with CBA changes. It's not a spike. It's only, air quotes, 10%, but that's a lot. It was only 4% this past year. So I think we've seen it, Alex. Myles Turner's market might be set, and that is, they can fit that in, but they might have to make some other tough decisions elsewhere to do so. What do you think of Allen's deal and how this has kind of trended for Turner and his market next summer? Because I think both sides kind of have leverage in the situation now.
Yeah, well, I think it's not talked about enough because it's the first time in his 10-year career that he'll be hitting unrestricted free agency.
Yes,
which crazy. How is that possible for Myles Turner? Like,
it's nuts.
Yeah, so it's something that he hasn't experienced. The Pacers haven't experienced with him. And as you said, like, this is just the market now. Like, we see contracts and everyone on Twitter says this is an overpay, that's an overpay.
It's not.
That's what guys are going for. I mean, good role players are going for 15 to 18 plus. So a starter who's averaging 17, yeah, he's probably going to go for close to 30, more than 30, I should say, in a year's time. And the tough thing is for the Pacers, like, if you're bounced in the first round, do you want to have that much money, locked in for 4 or 5 years for your top 3 guys? I love Myles. Anyone that knows me knows that. That's my guy. But I think it's a massive year for him, maybe the biggest of his career. And team success will probably play just as much, if not more, of a role than, what he averages. If it's the same, if it's a little bit more. Big year for Myles.
I totally agree with all that. And, it's, you say all the shock value, sticker shock of some of these contracts now, but like, again, the likely scenario, given that these TV contracts are now agreed to, is that the cap grows by 10% like every year for a while, right? Like, so a lot of deals signed right now will look amazing. And even potentially next year, maybe the year after that, it gets hairy, but I think for a little bit here, it's going to be really hard to sign a bad contract. There's already not that many in the league. Like in 2016, there were so many bad ones signed that really hamstrung a lot of teams, but now there's not that many. And so with Turner, I think the only thing I would wonder about is they did the huge bump with the renegotiation. Does that matter? Does that help the Pacers now in any way? Now that made his contract fair value on his last extension, but still they did that when they didn't necessarily, air quotes, have to. Maybe that's the only way to keep him. So here's why I think it's going to be interesting. They both have a lot of leverage, right? Myles Turner can say, hey, you pay me what I want, or you cannot replace me. Like, you cannot pay a player as close to as much money as me or at my talent level. And the center market next year, check it out if you don't believe me. It's Myles Turner and not a lot of good centers. And the Pacers could say, hey, the luxury tax line is right there. Like, we get what you're saying, but we also want to keep some stuff and you. Yeah. So both teams have a leverage position they can use or say in negotiations that make it really interesting to me. So if I were betting right now, or if I were guessing right now, I wonder if this could land at something between 3 years, $80 million and 3 years, $90 million. But if you do that, it's the Pacers. Even if you start as low as possible, what does that mean for McConnell? What does that mean for Isaiah Jackson? But I am only bringing this up because it just happened with Jared Allen. And he, obviously Hartenstein and Claxton happened already. But the Claxton was very similar in that the Nets either would lose him for nothing or pay him whatever he wanted. And Hartenstein got a team option, so he got a little bit of balloon payment. But now that we have 3 data points this summer, the center market is as clear as it possibly is. If you're a starting center who's playoff proven in caliber, like if you're not that, you'll get less. But Myles Turner's had a good playoff until he got hurt. This is what it costs. And so that is kind of what I think that negotiations would start, and there's not, and again, he is probably the most interesting player transactionally heading into the season because he can't be extended. So every extra data point matters a great deal in kind of talking about this.
No, I don't know if this term's overused in the cap world space. You're obviously more in tune than me, but the second apron now is such a factor, and
Yep.
it's tough unless you're the Boston Celtics. You know, a lot of these teams can't keep everyone. So are the Pacers going to be willing to go into tax or over a second apron for a team that is good, but you know, are they going to win a championship as it currently stands? I think that's the thing they have to weigh up. And you know, for Myles, it's yes, you've grown up in Indiana now, basically the last 10 years. There's chemistry with Haliburton. I think this is an amazing situation for him. But if, as you said, the Pacers come with 380 and then, you know, some other team says, hey, we'll give you 100 for 3 years.
Right.
Like, how do you turn that down, right? Like, if it could be one of your last 3 to 5 year deals in the NBA, it's going to be hard for him to turn that down.
And depending on what happens with Şengün or the Wizards, like they're going to be good teams with like interesting teams with space next year. The Spurs don't need a center, obviously. The Nets may not because they have Claxton, but they might look to trade Claxton. There's just a lot of cap space realities out there, but the center market like stinks next year. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes and where this trends. And well, probably the biggest transactional thing talked about here. And I think you're absolutely right. The team's success will play a big part in how it ends because I have this bookmarked. I'm going to bring this up all the time. Law Murray, he covers the Clippers for The Athletic. He tweeted this, I don't know how long ago, but I guess I could find it. I have it bookmarked. It was how many players are on every NBA team that were there 5 years ago, right? That's not that long in the NBA. The Pacers' answer is just Turner and McConnell. I don't mean that to say anything about Myles Turner specifically. No team has more than 4 players 5 years ago. I bring that up to say, especially for contending teams, roster churn is natural, right? Like the Nuggets in their build to now, they had to have some painful stuff happen with Gary Harris and painful stuff happen with Paul Millsap. And I'm not saying this to say prepare for Myles Turner to be gone. I'm saying this to say this is how it goes if success does not happen. So team success, I think, will be a big factor in the reality of whatever happens with Turner next year. And maybe there's another center contract that happens this summer that changes it, but I think the market is truly set. And I have nothing else left to add on Turner, but I thought it was very interesting and worth bringing up.
There should be, the last thing I'll say about Myles, there should be some incentive with Lego. You know, we'll build your own Lego city in the field house if you sign back for 10 million less.
I just the basketball romantic in me is it's so cool how long, like it's so rare these days. It's like Giannis, Steph, Draymond. I'm missing a few. There's not many guys who
Booker and Cat would be the only other ones from
his draft class, both of them, right? Yeah. So there's not that many guys like who've been with one team this long, like, and not like Turner's the worst player of the guys we just said, like of his caliber player too. That's so unique and it's awesome, right? Like that picture of him as a rookie playing against Tim Duncan, it just blows my mind sometimes, right? Like that happens. So I wonder where this goes, and I think it'd be awesome if he played his whole career with the Pacers and like would be in consideration for a top 5-10 Pacer ever should that happen. So it's going to be fascinating, and the market keeps changing, and he's got to be feeling pretty good about his spot. His agents did a very, very good job getting him to here. Congratulations to Myles Turner in that way. Alex, this was wonderful. Not many people are watching Canada and USA and Australia and can rock a Colts jersey and can talk some Myles Turner. You are uniquely qualified to talk with me today. Where can people find you and the things you have to say and make about the Pacers and sometimes the Colts and other stuff as one of the best in the biz?
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, you can find me on, I'm still going to call it Twitter. I don't care. I'm sorry. You can find me on Twitter at AKRiley5. That's all my socials. Actually, I will say as well, sorry for the plug, but keep an eye out for the Paceroos because Adam will be posting a special interview in the next week or so at least. And Pacers fans will want to check that out. So yeah, stay tuned.
I will be tuning in is the only tease I can give to that. Are you working on anything right now, video wise or graphical wise?
For personal stuff, there's an Anthony Richardson video coming. So
nice.
That's why the Colts jersey, the season's coming up in about a month. And yeah, that's about it. It's tough because I can't really make any Haliburton videos because he's on I can make a cheerleading video, I guess, of him on the bench.
Well, man, you got to be careful because the IOC will come for your video.
I know.
You got to be careful.
I saw somebody the other day that posts videos and he got taken down swiftly. So
I used to be a clip guy and I stopped, but I did some for the USA Basketball Showcase because I was like, I can't post anything once the Olympics start, and I need to have some footage to be able to put in articles. And they are fast too. It's crazy. It is crazy how quick they are with that stuff. People I know well and like are good at covering their team, getting their account suspended for a day. Olympics, they really want you to watch on TV. Depending on when you listen to this, Nembhard and Canada play at 11:15 Friday morning, so you could probably catch them still if you are listening after that. Bummer. Haliburton plays again on Saturday, and both of those teams have already qualified for the knockout stage. Their seeding is TBD, so they'll play again after that if you're missing both of those games and listening to this. But I don't know when that's going to be. You should give Alex a follow. Looking forward to seeing Anthony Richardson content. Colts halfway through camp already. Check out Locked On Colts for more on that. We'll be back next week with a mailbag. I'm burying this at the end so I don't get flooded with questions. But please, if you're on Twitter, submit your questions to me at Tony R.E. so I can answer them on next week's first two shows because it's August and I need help from you knowing what to talk about. Thank you guys for listening today. Check out what Alex has to say and do. Till then, everybody have a wonderful weekend.